Don't you love hearing that music?
There's something comforting, and I have to say very comforting about hearing that music.
Yeah, well, the Carol Burnett Show, of course, premiered on September 11th, 1967, airing for 11 seasons. It was nominated for 10 Emmy Awards.
And 50 years later, the Carol Burnett 50th Anniversary Special, which aired last December, is nominated for 2 Emmys this year. The show featured most of the original cast members, as well as a lot of special guests who helped celebrate 50 years of the Carol Burnett Show. Take a look.
It's the Carol Burnett Show 50th Anniversary Special.
Looks like you got a nice full roof. Could you bump up the lights so I could see? Oh!
In the words of the immortal Omar Khayyam, a bottle of wine.
A jug of wine.
Jugs are nice too.
I feel like we should do the chant to get her out here,
Yeah,
but get out here, Carol Burnett.
Yes.
Come on. A round of applause, everyone in here. Come on. Oh, come on.
We wanted to start with you out here because you started every show, standing up and addressing the audience. And there was that sense of intimacy. Yeah. There's like 3 people in back. Okay. Yeah.
Well, can we ask the significance, importance of why you did the show as you did in the front of your stage at the beginning of your show?
Our executive producer, he said, Carol, you're going to do the warm-up. You come out, you talk to the audience and answer questions because they should get to know you before I start putting on all those, black out my teeth and put on the wigs and the fat suits and all of that. And I was terrified at first.
Really?
Yeah, because I'd never done it. And I didn't know if anybody would ask a question or if they did, what was I going to say?
Can I ask you a question? Did they vet the questions before asking you?
No.
Wow,
No,
that's scary.
In fact, they said, do you want some plants in the audience? I said, you know what? If I've got egg on my face, it's going to be truthful.
I was just wondering how you keep your nice shape.
I keep it because nobody else wants it.
I love it. So we're going to make you sit down.
Let's sit down.
Okay, come sit down. We're not going to make you stand too long.
Am I here?
Yes, you're right here.
So we saw at the end of that clip the Tarzan Call, the iconic Tarzan Call. What's the story behind it?
Well, my cousin and we were the same age. She was quite beautiful. And around 9 or 10 years old, when we would go to the movies, we'd come home and we'd act out the movies. So back then, I don't know if you remember who Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy were. And we'd act them out. Well, of course, guess who was Nelson Eddy? She was Jeanette. So guess who was Jane? And guess who was Tarzan? So that I taught myself the yell.
Do you get tired of it?
No, not really.
Well, good, because in the special you had the celebrities do the yell for you.
Right.
So do you mind if we?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can do it right now.
Do you want us to try it first?
I'd love it.
Okay. All right.
Go, Alex.
Here we go.
Yep, go.
Not bad.
Good rating?
Pretty good.
Okay, go ahead.
Girthy?
Well,
A little bit of a baritone in there. I don't know if I can do it because I've been talking all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
You know what? I want to bring you to just a party just to do that and say, I have Carol Burnett.
I have done recordings for people for their answering service.
Right. I believe it. You probably could make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the special.
Sure.
50 years later.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of doing that again?
I think, well, it was so exciting. We didn't quite know how we were going to do it because 25 years ago, we did a 25th reunion. So this time we said, well, why not have a party and invite people, who had watched the show and to talk about some of their favorite clips, and then we can show them, So we sent out invitations to all of these people, not realizing that every one of them said yes.
How can you say no to Carol Burnett?
Well, I was gobsmacked, and I said, how are we going to take care of all of these nice people who said yes, they'll come on and have enough screen time, to service them and still show the clips. But it worked out. There were some things that we had to edit out, but we have a DVD coming out of the 50th show with added bonus clips and things that we didn't show when it was aired.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the Carolisms of the show. Of course, there was the Tarzan Call we already talked about. Yeah. There was the pulling on the ear, which was a signal to your grandmother, which you talked about.
to say hello to her.
And then there was also the fashion, right?
Oh, Bob Mackey.
And Bob Mackey he designed every single outfit for all of those years.
65 costumes a week, not just what I wore.
Did you do the characters based off of the costumes, or did he do the costumes based off of you?
Well, he has a great comedic mind, Bob. And so after the first 3 tapings, when we were just starting out, he used to come and bring drawings, sketches of what he thought I should be in. And I liked it so much, I said, you just surprise me when I come to costume fittings on Wednesday. I trust you. And so he would... there were a lot of times I didn't know.
Look at this one.
Well, that's Bob.
The most iconic one.
The curtain rod.
Scarlett O'Hara, sort of.
He came up with that, yeah. And this one?
Mrs. Wiggins.
Mrs. Wiggins? Mm-hmm. Tim wrote those characters. He created Mrs. Wiggins and Mr. Tudball. But originally, he wrote Mrs. Wiggins to be this doddering old lady. And I went into costume fitting, and Bob said, we've been doing a lot of old ladies lately. Let's make her into this bimbo. With the blonde Farrah Fawcett wig and the push-up bra and the stiletto high heels. And he put me in this real tight black old skirt he had. And it was tight at the knees, but it bagged in the behind. And I said, Bob, I'm flat back there. You're going to have to take this in. And he said, stick your behind into it.
Wow.
And I did. And that's how that walk came about.
Right.
So that hiney is not yours.
Yeah, it's mine.
It's mine.
I'm sticking it in there.
And speaking of Tim, sometimes things went off the rails,
well,
right?
You said Tim Conway. I read that he would ad-lib.
Oh, yeah.
And the funny thing about your show is when you guys would get the giggles.
I saw these Siamese elephants.
You were real and you would laugh.
Well,
How was that?
We never did it on purpose. Mm-hmm. We never did it on purpose. And it was usually Tim's fault. Because we'd do 2 shows on Friday, and we'd tape both. And the first one we called a dress rehearsal with an audience, and we'd get a different audience in for the later show. Tim would always do it according to the script on the first show, and then he'd go wild on the second show.
The thing is, it seemed like you guys loved each other so much.
We did.
Did you really, or did you really hate each other?
We hated each other, but I knew that. No,
Yeah.
it was a family.
Yeah.
It was a total family, and 11 years.
Yeah. What do you see as the legacy of the Carol Burnett Show?
The fact that it's still ticking at 51 years old, that's a great legacy to have, that, it's still viable. We're on MeTV, and the special did so well. I'm getting fan mail from 10-year-olds. It's unbelievable.
Well, you know why people appreciate you? Back in a time when it was probably not cool to be a strong female and a funny strong female, you did it.
Thank you.
And you paved the way for a lot of us.
And we've got more with Carol Burnett because there's a new show on Netflix with bringing a whole new generation into Carol Burnett. We're going to talk about that a little bit later here on Good Day LA. Let's listen to the music.
There you go.
She is the original female of sketch comedy. Her variety show, The Carol Burnett Show, premiered 50 years ago, receiving 10 Emmy nominations, crowning her really the queen of comedy.
Now, 50 years later, she is still relevant. The Carol Burnett 50th Anniversary Special is nominated for 2 Emmy Awards, and Carol has a new show airing on Netflix, and she's still getting all the big gets. Take a look.
Okay, kids, Candace wants to know how she can show her husband how much she loves him.
Husbands don't always like to work that much, so maybe you could do some of his household chores for him.
When it comes to honesty, we go to the ones who only do honesty, kids.
I have this coworker. He likes to play pranks on me while I'm at work.
Can you get rid of him?
DJ Kelly. Can I call you DJ?
Yeah, you can call me whatever you want because you're an icon, you're a legend.
Oh, don't stop that.
That's right.
You have, coming out of the special, you have Tony Hill, Julie Bowen, all these people who want to come on the show. Yeah. But what was it like when Netflix approached you, or you approached Netflix?
Them.
And what was that like?
Well, they were terrific, and we pitched the show and said, I just want to talk to kids and ask their advice about adult dilemmas. I mean, that's a great premise, so it just, that was it. And they bought it.
Is it kind of fun because you're such a legend that when you walk into any room, everybody is like, oh my God, there's Carol Burnett. But maybe for some of these kids that may not be that familiar with your work, is it kind of interesting to have that dynamic?
I think when they were cast, I think their parents showed them a bunch of stuff so that when we started taping, I was Miss Carol, and they would hug, and they were so sweet. I've been in the business for quite some time, and actually I've worked with the best in the business, and I would like to continue doing that right here at Netflix, sir.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm Carol Burnett.
There's so many different stars. Some of the, like, did you know who DJ Khaled was before this whole thing?
Yeah, I did, kind of.
DJ Khaled. You like that music?
Kind of, yeah. But then to get to know him, he was delightful.
Yeah.
Absolutely delightful.
And
what a personality.
And part of the premise is that you get to learn how to do social media.
Stay woke.
I know, yeah, you stay woke.
You are staying woke for sure.
But you know what?
Yeah.
That's passé now.
Yeah.
What's in?
I don't know, but one of the kids told me. I said, we've done that, and then I just did it again a few weeks later, and he said, no, that's passé. Well, look who it is. It's Mr. Tony Hale sliding into my DMVs.
I think you mean DMs.
What have you learned about social media? And do you like social media?
I'm not really into it that much. You know, we kind of had this, whatever you call it, what we're doing. We take pictures and send it in, you know, but mostly Netflix is doing that. I can email and I can text, and that's about it. Candace taught me about boomerangs, you know, that they're not just some sticks people throw around in Australia.
Carol, everybody knows that they're just not sticks.
Yeah, you know everything. I've even got some Instagram stories figured out. My selfie game might still need some work.
It's a huge thing. Do you think the Carol Burnett show would have survived with social media around, or do you think it would have been like kind of something interesting, like shots and scenes behind the scenes?
We weren't that shocking. Whatever we did, we showed. You know,
I think those clips would have gone viral in this era, and maybe they're going viral again
they're
now.
All over YouTube.
Well, part of the show is like getting to know you a little bit better, and we've got a little game that we want to play with you to get to know you a little better. Is that okay?
Sure.
So these are different questions. We're going to put 30 seconds up on the clock, and we're going to ask you some of your favorites or things about you. And,
okay, you ready?
Please
Francis, do you have the clock up?
Yeah,
are we ready?
We got the clock
Are we in a tie?
We're at 30 seconds.
Here we go.
Quick. Okay, ready? Favorite song?
Here's That Rainy Day.
Oh, we love that song. Celebrity crush.
Celebrity crush. George Clooney.
Oh, that's a good one. Texting or calling?
I like to call.
Favorite
I text, but I like to call. I like to hear people's voices.
Favorite character.
Oh, my. Eunice.
That's good.
Nice.
Favorite movie?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Favorite food.
Enchiladas.
Favorite comedian?
Oh, that's too tough.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, ours is you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
The Netflix show is great.
Thank you.
And it is such an honor to have you
Thanks,
on our
Alex.
show.
Love to be here.
You've way classed up our show.
Yes.
I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing here with her?
Don't tell me.
I can't even look her in the eye. I don't even know what's going on. But I have to say, you are such an inspiration, a pleasure. And here's to 50 more, my friend.
Yeah, so a little help with Carol Burnett streaming on Netflix now, the 50th anniversary show of the Carol Burnett Show, up for the Emmys in September.
And we're rooting for you.
Good luck to you.
All right,
thank you very much, Carol Burnett. Give a little.
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
I did that to my daughter.
You do?
Because she wants to know what mom's at work in a talker. So I said,
works.
and I said,
it's for my grandmother. Yeah.
Thank you.